Welcome to our face-to-face section. Today we are proud to have with us former Home Secretary Shri G.K. Pillai. Welcome to our show, sir. Sir, a one-man committee has been formed under your kind self to look into demands both for and against the formation of borderland. What is the status of the committee today?
This one-man committee is set up in one sense quite late, just before the elections were announced. So obviously now there is nothing that I can do till the elections are over and the new government comes into being. So the new government will have to take again a fresh call on the commission itself. And once that is reiterated, then I would start my work. I don't think I can, I have an open mind, so I would go and meet with all the concerned interests, and I'll make up my mind subsequently. My mind is open.
So, sir, there is a lot of varying interests. There is the Kamtapur demands are clashing with the Bodo demands. The area is the same. So, how much can a committee, how much can a person do? What kind of solution can come out? Because any solution is going to anger the other group.
If we have to find a solution which is a win-win for all. See, in every, all communities have to, basically all communities want to prosper. They want to economically advance. They want to do well. They need jobs creation. They need political power. They need some empowerment. So we will try and find a solution after discussion with all. I think it is too premature at this stage, except to say that I have an open mind. I will consult everybody, and my objective is to find a solution which is a win-win for everybody, all the communities in the area.
You would obviously induct some members into the committee. Now, would they be former bureaucrats, technocrats, economists, or who? Also, have you decided on the number of members you would induct?
It's a one-man committee, but I can call upon experts from different fields, because I will be looking at, in terms of the composition of the population, in terms of the economy, in terms of the economic opportunities which are available. All that I will have separate subgroups to look at that. But at the moment it is still a one-man commission, so I cannot do that without the permission of the government.
People are drawing parallels between Bodoland and Telangana. How is the demand for Bodoland different from that of Telangana?
They're all different. Each area is different. That's, the Gorkhaland agitation, that is separate. If you look at Vidarbha, that is separate. And UP, to form 3 states, the whole UP Assembly has passed a resolution. So all political parties are for it. So, so each situation is quite different from each place. So each one will have to be tackled separately. And that is why I believe that it's very important for the government of India, and I hope that a new government, when it comes, will actually look at setting up another next state reorganization commission. Because I think the time has come for setting up some more states, smaller states. We have seen smaller states doing quite well, and that is essential. But at the same time, a state must form which looks after all its interests. It can't be just one state for one dominant community and ignoring or creating a lot of fears in others. That doesn't work.
What is the status of talks with Alpha? They thought some decisions would be arrived at before the announcement of elections. What is the hitch?
On the ULFA, Mr. P.C. Haldar is meeting with them, trying to find solutions. See, the problem is you have solutions which is by one group or the other, which is then doesn't alienates another section of society. So you have to find solutions. As people said, in a democracy, one doesn't get everything that one wants. One has to compromise because there are different sections of society with different aspirations, and therefore very important is to understand that, for the groups to understand that you have to reason, you have to debate, and you have to find solutions which may not be the best solution, but is the most practicable in terms of all the groups that are there.
The Naga talks too have prolonged since decades. The Nagas are already enjoying the benefits under 371A. Now, what more could be given under the constitution to make the Nagas satisfied and happy?
I think Mr. R.S. Pandey, as the interlocutor for the government and with the NSE he's been able to, shall I say, bridge a lot of the gaps and get a better understanding between the two sides. He's done excellent work in this regard. Some tentative options have been agreed to. It is now, in one sense, you might say, the ball is in the court of the Government of India and, in fact, the state government of Manipur. And if, I think, post-elections, the Government of India, the new Government of India and with the state government of Manipur, they will have to give their responses in terms of the options that have been discussed and negotiated with the NSE and then these options will have to be placed before the larger group, which involves the Naga state government of Nagaland, the people of Nagaland, all village councils in Nagaland, and they will all have to be a party to the final decision. And also to the state government of Manipur, the people of Manipur, and because it's even though the territorial integrity of Manipur is being protected, but there are certain autonomy issues in the hill districts on which the state government of Manipur will have to be consulted and a solution found which is within the framework of what has been negotiated with the NSE.
The option of forming a hill council with Muiva as its head is doing the rounds of rumor mills. Is that an option before the government?
No, I don't think so. I don't think there is any hill council. The issue is basically of autonomy of the hill districts and also of a separate a council which is for looking at Naga customary and other aspects, which is still being negotiated. I don't want to bring it into the public domain fully at this stage. Once the discussions with the state government of Manipur have also been completed, I'm sure the state government of India and will bring it before the state government of Manipur, and state government of Nagaland, and there will be a wide public debate on the parameters of the solution so that there is widespread acceptance by all groups.
In Manipur too, problems abound. The Sioux agreement with the Kukis was signed in your time, and yet today the government is having problems with the Kukis as well as with several other smaller groups. What could be done?
In Manipur has got a very peculiar situation. The key to the solution in Manipur is basically the state government of Manipur and the people of the valley. So they have to now finally take a clear view on finding a solution to some of these problems. Not ad hoc solutions, but solutions in a long-term basis. And the solutions finally are very simple. In terms of people have to be taken into confidence. You have to empower the people. And empowering the people doesn't mean that the state government gets disempowered. Because when people are empowered, when communities are empowered, state governments are also strengthened. So this is the dilemma, that people shouldn't feel, people feel threatened at the state government. It's not something which is unique to the Northeast. We found it in Jammu and Kashmir also, where Panchayati Raj, no delegation of powers to the panchayats, because the state government and the MLAs feel threatened that they are going to lose power. But they have to see the example of, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Maharashtra, where having given powers to the local bodies, the state governments are still as strong as ever.
The people of Manipur are protesting vociferously against the militants, against extortions, etc. What more can they do? It is often said that no militant movement anywhere in the world can sustain for long without the support of the people. Yet in Manipur, we see that the militants are going on.
I think each area has its own different dynamics. In Manipur, to an extent, I think it's primarily because the militant groups and the underground movement, they are looked upon as defenders of the Manipur, the Maithi, the Manipur state. And they don't have the confidence that, the territorial integrity of Manipur will be preserved by the Government of India. They asked for, can you bring a constitutional amendment to say that no state will be formed without the concurrence of the Legislative Assembly? We didn't bring that. And now what happened in Andhra Pradesh, we'll tell them that, look, even when the Andhra Pradesh Assembly said no to Telangana, you formed Telangana. So what is the guarantee for us in Manipur that even if our assemblies, where the Maithis have the majority, we say no, that another state will not be formed. So can we give them that confidence? Now, from the valley, from the Maithi side point of view is, yes, you can have the territorial integrity of Manipur, but you have to empower people in all areas. Just by empowering people doesn't mean that the territorial integrity goes. So keeping the territorial integrity, you also empower people in all the hill districts. Let people, their normal small things like education, health, water, sewerage, etc. Leave it to the local people to decide what they want. Give them the money and let them do it.
What difference do you see in the Northeast today compared to the times when, say, you were the Joint Secretary or the Secretary in the Home Ministry?
What I see today is one, tremendous confidence in the youth. Both boys and girls are extremely confident that they can stand competition with anybody in India or the world, if you want to put it that way. So that is extremely good. So lakhs of them have come out to other parts of India, working in hospitality industry, tourism industry, you name it, they are there. Software industry, consumer goods industry and so on. And many of them are slowly also, I think, getting into the entrepreneurial trend, and especially in the hospitality industry. So I see a great confidence. In fact, I remember a case where I met in Bangalore, in a restaurant which I had gone. Everybody except the owner was from the Northeast. Actually, they were all from Churachandpur district of Manipur, you know, right from the accountant to the chef to the waiters, waitresses, etc. And when I talked with them, they said, give us a couple of years and we will either set up a restaurant on our own or we will buy out the owner and set up, this restaurant will be our own. So from being a worker in a restaurant to being the owner of the restaurant is what they are thinking of.
Talking about Northeast people living in metropolitan cities, recently we've had a lot of protests against anti-racist behavior of locals against Northeast people. Well, what could be done in your opinion to bridge the gap?
Yeah, very much more needs to be done. See, primarily because the rest of India is still not fully aware that the Mongoloid races in the Northeast are in one sense also a part of India. And that is why, you know, you have these people, when you meet somebody, somebody says he's a chinky or he looks like somebody from outside, was a foreigner. That has to change. And that can change only, I put it as, it's going to be a long term, but it will change only when people see them more and more. So you need people from the Northeast on TV news, on TV anchors, in the airlines, which are now almost, I think, all the low-cost airlines, almost every flight has got somebody from the Northeast. So when you see these people more and more, you realize that they are Indians also. And that is the only way. And the second is, of course, right from the textbooks onwards. I think right from primary school onwards up, history of the Northeast, people of the Northeast, their culture, etc., needs to be put into the syllabus of all these, so that people start seeing this. I think I see, very recently you must have seen an ad of Nestle, of, it's an adoption of, but you see the girl is from the Northeast, you know, it's very clear. So the very fact that you see that girl with an Indian boy and, you know, you sort of, then you realize that, and I think it's a great, and that's the type of thing which you need to do more. I'm just hoping that at some point of time, even in Bollywood, I'll get some heroes, some heroines coming in from the Northeast and making it good like Shah Rukh Khan and others. That will change the entire complexion of how people look at the Northeast.
People from the Northeast are demanding for an anti-racist law. Will a law help?
Yes, it will help because it will, if you can make it very specific to that, it will at least, like, you know, when you have for dowry and you had for atrocities against scheduled castes, atrocities against scheduled tribes, you had specific laws which help to highlight awareness both in the general public as well as among the police forces. So I think an anti-racism law is something which will help, but it will apply equally well that you can have racist attacks in the Northeast also against non-Northeasterners will also fall under that, because it cannot be only one way. So I think in one sense, I would all be for a new law to bring in this anti-racism concept also.
The Northeast is facing problem at its borders too. Myanmar is supposed to be a friendly country, and yet Songbijit and his cadres of the NDFB are supposed to be sheltered there. Also recently, 2 Punjabi traders from Moreh who had crossed over to Myanmar were killed. What is going on?
Myanmar, I think overall our relationships is very good. Myanmar is in a great transition period. They are now transitioning towards, shall I say, a controlled democracy. Therefore, the government is engaged in negotiations with a number of the militant groups, to try and find peaceful solutions. So, development in the border areas bordering with still is very, very low. So, I'm not too worried about that. I think the relationships are excellent. We have very good understanding with Myanmar. They have their own limitations. And I think as they progress towards democracy, we'll find our problems also getting resolved.
There are certain incursions from China also along the Arunachal Pradesh border. What could be done from our side to make our border area safe?
China, of course, the boundary dispute it's going to take time to resolve. I think the most important thing for us to understand is that there is a dispute over the boundary. We have to sit down with the Chinese and negotiate. We have our own national interest, they have their own national interest. I am sure that it is possible to find a solution which meets both our countries' requirements, national security requirements. And I think at the technical level, which is the national security advisors and on our side and on their side, there is a broad understanding of how the solution can be found. What is really required now from India's side and also from the Chinese side is a political solution. And the political solution can only come if we are able to mobilize our public and political opinion towards a solution. See, we have now, say, 1962 Parliament resolution saying not 1 inch of our motherland will be this thing. No, you can't start anything if that is the basis on which you will start. There is no negotiation then. So that resolution itself will have to be, in one sense, it's open for discussion, because that's the way it was. The boundaries are fluid. We didn't know there's a McMahon line, whether it's watershed, etc. Is this hill or that hill, etc. Nobody went and did all that. So we have to find a practical solution. And if I think government of the day interacts with opposition MPs and so on, takes them into confidence and says, this is the way we are trying to find a solution, and it's a solution which will be a national solution, where no one political party will claim the credit. We have to take the media into confidence, because the media molds public opinion. So we have to take the media into confidence. And the Chinese also have to play its own part in terms of generating a positive public opinion of China within India, so that there is a solution which can be found, both within India as well as within China. So it's a very long, slow process. But if the will is there, I think you can solve the problem within, say, 2 years or 3 years.
The Maoists are also a big problem in the country. Recently, it was also reported that in their own area, that is the Chhattisgarh area, the CRPF Jawans battling the Maoists were facing a shortage of bulletproof helmets. Why, sir?
The problem there has come about because of neglect. I think neglect over a decade. Between 95 and 2005, really 10 years, we just neglected the entire, shall I say, awareness of the situation and building up our forces. So, since the build-up of forces is an ongoing process, building up our intelligence network is an ongoing process, building up of the development, both education, health, etc., is going to take time, because I don't have enough doctors, I don't have teachers, I don't have policemen, I don't have, all these people in these areas, in these remote areas. So it's going to take, it takes me 10 years to build up that manpower, I will be slightly on the back foot. But I think we are on the right track, and we can see that itself in the fact that slowly more and more people in some of the areas have given up violence and are willing to come and surrender. Even some of their top leaders are coming forward to surrender. I expect that if we are very firm in our endeavor and we don't get diverted, in about 10 years' time, I think we would have literally, in one sense, broken the back of the Maoist resistance. And then it's a matter of good governance right through.
But of late, they seem to be expanding their base. They are making inroads into the northeast.
Where they come in is where government is not there. Vacuum they take, they will try to fill up the vacuum. And the first thing they want is to kill all political party representatives so that only their political view is there. They're like, it's a monolith view. So that is why in places like UP, they were tried very hard to come in, they couldn't come in because the Samajwadi Party, the BSP, the Congress, the BJP, all political parties are there in every village. So the Maoists have not able to break through. So if it's finally a political battle. See, you must realize Maoists are what? They're fighting for the minds of the people. So are you going to give them an alternative for the people to say, it's not the Maoist that is the only one who is offering me a better life? Are all the other political parties also giving me an ideology which gives me an equally better life or better? And when people are convinced between the two, and I have seen that in areas which, so-called liberated areas which I have visited, people there have definitely said, we are happy with what the Indian state is doing it. We don't want the Maoists to come, but you must come here and stay with us and give us the development. Not just come, chase them out and then go away again, and don't leave the vacuum there. That is essential.
Thank you, sir, for being with us and answering all our questions in detail.